Hi guys, and welcome to a battle between Noob for Life up against Croissant Talbert in a Lizardman versus Tomb King grudge match. Should certainly be an interesting one. We are going to be on Plains of the Dead as well. Very thematic pick here coming up against the Tomb King. So let's go into slow-mo and break down the armies nice and quickly. So, for the forces of the Lizardmen in the front line, we have a mixture of Saurus Warriors with Shield and Temple Guard, one of the greatest looking units in all of Warhammer lore, in my opinion. So, it looks like we have 3 Saurus Warriors and 2 Temple Guard. Nice mix in the Temple Guard in there, as they certainly can do a decent job up against those constructs as well. It looks like in the back we do have 3 units. Oh no, we've got 1 unit of Horned Ones and 2 units of Cold One Riders. Great to see the Horned Ones in action. Going to be keeping an eye out on these guys, as they're one of those units which I really love thematically, but they don't tend to often pull their weight and really justify their cost when compared to the Cold One Spear Riders and so forth. Looks like we do have an Ancient Salamander. Nice to see Susan back in action. Unfortunately, she did get nerfed way back in the day after she came out. She used to be one of my favourite units to bring. I loved bringing Salamanders behind a big wall of Temple Guard. But unfortunately, less health now, less range, less damage, a little bit of less everything. But still can be very potent in some matchups. Going to be interesting to see how she performs here. We do have a Skink Priest of Beasts as well, bringing the Manticore summon, which is very competitive, and Lord Mazdamundi on top of the mighty Zlak here. And he is, of course, bringing his shield. No Ruination of Cities, unfortunately. We do get Apotheosis, Harmonic Convergence, and was also given, of course, that missile resistance, which can be really, really pivotal. Now, for the forces of the Tomb Kings coming in here, and Croissant himself, we have cheap and cheerful Skeleton Warriors in the front line, just there to try and absorb some of the charge and hold back the enemy as long as possible. In the back lines, we do have some Spearmen as well, so quite nice formation here. These guys obviously protecting against Cav and so forth. And in the centre pocket, we have a couple of units of Ushopti, but the close combat variety, I'm starting to see this quite a bit. These guys use, in the same way you'd use Crocskulls and Skinks, they simply saturate on top of the Skeleton Warriors and do the damage, while the Skeleton Warriors soak up the painful return. Looks like we do have a couple units of the Great Bows as well. Now, this is my main worry here for that Lizardmen force. The Great Bows can do great damage to the Temple Guard, the Lord Mazdamundi himself, and the Ancient Salamander. If they pin him down with just a couple of volleys, he'll certainly be running for the hills. Looks like we do have some Skeleton Chariots on the far flank as well, but the big punching power of this force, apart from those Ushopti Great Bows, is really coming in here from Setra the Imperishable. He does not serve, but he does ride kitty cats. He's coming in here with the Blessed Blade of Petra. He's also got all the incantations you'd expect, protection, curse blades, all that good stuff. We're also coming in with a Necro Sphinx here, not the Regiment Round version, which I think can do fantastic up against the Lizardmen, but this guy certainly as well can do a good job. Anti-large, can go toe-to-toe those big dinosaurs and stomp all over little Skinks and Saurus Warriors. So without further ado, let's get this underway. Looks like the Great Bows are starting to target down the Temple God, which isn't a bad idea. These guys are probably out of range at the moment, the Ancient Salamander and so forth, but I'd certainly be turning my sights onto this guy as quickly as possible, as he has to get relatively close before he can shoot, but he can certainly do some big burst damage. And it looks like some of them have switched onto Lord Mazdamundi, which is also a pretty viable target, and the Temple Guard as well still taking some brunt. But in comes the first fireball there, vomited up by the Salamander onto these Skeleton Warriors. Now, they're quite cheap and cheerful, but still, that's pretty good shock damage right there, coming in and killing 17 of those guys off the bat. Temple Guard getting Apotheosis just to allow them to get into the front line, which is a good play here coming in by the Lizards. And the front line engagement is soon to get underway. So it's interesting to see how long these Skeleton Warriors do hold for. Temple Guard very elite here, going to hack those guys apart very quickly, you would expect. It looks like the front line engagement is getting underway all across the battlefield here, as the Ushopti do charge in as well, trying to counter-charge the Saurus Warriors where possible. Doesn't really want to get those guys on Temple Guard. So nice play here, dragging the Ushopti wide and hopping on top of the Saurus here. We do have a summoned Manticore as well, probably going to go into the back lines, hunting down the Great Bows, and in comes Mazdamundi, and out here arrive the Cold One Spear Riders and Horned One charge. Ancient Sally still launching those shots and doing some really good burst damage off the gates. The shield of the Old Ones has been popped. Now, where are those Horned Ones? Here they are, coming charging in, trying to pin in the Skeleton Chariots, it looks like it for the most part. And this is a pretty good matchup for them. They should be able to destroy them relatively quickly, getting in there and dragging down those skeletons off their steeds here. And pulling them down to their doom. So nice catch there. Salamander still firing shots in, doing some fantastic damage. Cold One Spear Riders do hop in here onto some Skeleton Spearmen, but quickly realise that Setra is about and fall back. So nice play there, doesn't want to get involved. Yes, they're anti-large, but they will get tore apart by Setra without a little bit of assistance. And for the front line, it's pretty much as expected. The Tomb Kings slowly getting beat back. Wherever the Ushopti are, they're doing fantastic damage back to the Saurus Warriors, even though Lord Mazdamundi trying his best to hold the line and stabilise. Horned Ones do have a harmonic convergence popped on them, but the chariots do kind of a nice charge, flinging down at Temple Guard where possible. And over on the side, Skeleton Warriors all pinned up just on one Skink Priest, allowing the Ancient Salamander to fire shots over and get some really fantastic value. Already up to 111 kills, which is no joke. Looks like Lizardmen is in a little bit of trouble here though. The big old Necro Sphinx is hunting him down, so he wants to scoot his boot as far away as possible. Really needs to stack him up on top of Temple Guard, and it looks like that's just what he's doing. Temple Guard trying to pin in the Sphinx. Now the problem with Halberd infantry in general, Phoenix Guard, Temple Guard and so forth, yes, they're fantastic at bringing down large entities if they can remain in combat with them. They tend to be relatively slow, and as you see, this Necro Sphinx is simply going to walk away. The Temple Guard do not have the pace to keep up. So you definitely need units to try and pin him in. It looks like the Horned Ones are just about trying to do that, but not quite enough mass. The Necro Sphinx does push through and gets a big old slap onto the Ancient Salamander there. Very even battle so far if we take into account of what is left. Some Source Warriors going to clean up the Skeleton Spearmen and then probably move over to the main engagement. And in the back line, your Shopty Great Bows are a little bit overwhelmed at the moment. Cold One Riders are eating these guys for breakfast as much as possible, but they're not the spear variety, so it's going to be a bit of a grind match. And over here, some more Cold One Riders did go in for the snipe, trying to bring down the Shopty Great Bows, but it looks like Cetra did rally over here with some spearmen, and those guys are certainly going to get dragged down. Now in the main engagement, Lord Mazdamundi doing his best here. Surely the Old Ones is popped. Trying to stand by his Temple Guard as much as possible to help bring down that Necro Sphinx, but it's going to be a really big problem to deal with unless it sits for too long on top of the Temple Guard. I don't think Croissant is going to allow that to happen. Looks like the Ancient Salamander, 185 kills now, and he's pretty decent in combat as well. A little bit squishy, but certainly can pack a punch. And we'll see where he's going to launch his next vomit shot. He's going for the long shot all the way over to the Skeleton Spearmen, I doubt. Oh no, much closer here. Going for the shop team, doing a bit of friendly fire, flinging some Temple Guard to the ground there. Looks like the Lizardmen slowly starting to run out of momentum though here. Looks like the Tomb King's just about managed to endure so far. And Lord Mazdamundi, very precarious situation. Still has 3,000 health, but that can go in the blink of an eye really up against the Sphinx and Cetra combination. We do have another Ferroman's Core summoned though, probably going to be used to hunt down these Shopty Great Bows. Might be an idea though just to pop it on top of the Sphinx or something to really try and get rid of it as quickly as possible. We have some rallying Cold One Riders in the back lines, trying to skirt around these Skeleton Spearmen, hop around and hop into this nice centre pocket here of Great Bows, which certainly would be some good value. Source Warriors as well, trying to rally to the cause and surround Cetra by the looks of it. And unfortunately, the big old Fire Dogger here is being caught up by some Skeleton Warriors who are hunting him down as much as possible. But as said previously, he will do pretty decent against these guys, especially with Lord Mazdamundi close and present to him. We do have some rallying Saurus Warriors, but they probably won't do too much in the battle when they get back. They will probably end up breaking relatively quickly. Still have some Cold One Riders trying to find a home in the back lines here. Mazdamundi pushing through as well, trying to shut down these Great Bows, which is not a bad shout at all. There are a few Spearmen as well for a bit of backline protection. Temple Guard slowly being dragged down by the Necro Sphinx. They are doing pretty decent damage to him, but as you can see, he can just kind of plod through them and fling them to the ground. And as long as he stays mobile with Cetra and the Sphinx, the Temple Guard are certainly going to have a tough time. There's no Carnosaur or Scar Veteran to really pin these guys in, and they're now just walking through the battle line over these elite bodyguards and hunting down Mazdamundi as much as possible. And he's really starting to struggle, down to 2,000 health. In comes some Cold One Riders attempting to pin in the Necro Sphinx, who's taking an absolute beating now and is actually starting to lose a lot of leadership. If he can keep him there and make sure he crumbles, maybe come in with another slam from Mazdamundi, that would be a fantastic pick for the Lizardmen. But it looks like for the most part, Necro Sphinx going to fling some of those guys away and make a nice escape hole for himself right here. And in fact, the Cold One Riders, bravely did charge in originally, are being now forced back slightly. Ancient Salamander getting off one or two of his last shots, trying to clear up the chaff as much as possible, and that's what he's best for. The hunting pack's much better against the anti-large, whereas the Ancient Salamander much better at destroying your elite infantry and cheap and cheerful. Lord Mazdamundi pops Apotheosis on him and goes for the Jewel of Jewel, but we do have an incantation of protection coming down. 44% physical resistance is big, and also the Cursed Blades going down. And Cetra coming with a rear attack. Mazdamundi is certainly in the wrong neighbourhood. I like the attempt to isolate the Necro Sphinx, but unfortunately he actually found himself slightly isolated here. His Temple Guard struggling to get back to him in time, and he is very low on health. Cold-Blooded popped though, trying to keep him active, but I feel like these guys are simply going to push through the Temple Guard, hunt him down, and really cause some problems. So at this point, Mazdamundi should probably have turned around this way, just trying to keep as close as possible. It's very dangerous. Unfortunately, he does get isolated, trying his best to escape, and he's vanishing into the void there. Fortunately, the mighty Zak does fall. And with that, guys, I think it's going to be a bit of a wash here. There's still a few Temple Guard around, 29 here, and 15 here, but they're not going to have enough punching power to drag down the Necrosphinx plus Cetra, I don't think. So let's just speed it up a bit, as it's going to be a little bit of a grind fest at the death here, which is, of course, completely fine. Ancient Salamander trying his best to cycle charge here, but without the leadership of Mazdamundi, a lot of the Lizardmen forces are simply starting to break. But what a close game. Very well played to both players there. And let's go into the end replay screen and dissect the builds a little bit. So massive shout out to Noob for Life for sending this replay in. It's also not often you see someone send in a replay where they've lost, which obviously adds a bit more to the dramatic factor as well, not knowing who is going to come out on top. But I actually quite enjoy his build a lot. So we have the Temple God, which I think are a really good pick here. Again, you have to be a bit scared of your Shopty great bows and so forth, sniping them out. But there was so many options for those great bows to target that even if you got the kind of standard free, you have the horned ones you want to bring down, the Ancient Salamander, the Temple God plus Mazdamundi. They probably should have picked and sniped out the Salamander first, in my opinion, as he's quite squishy. Could have forced him away from the battlefield and then focused on the other threats, but still, they did some great work overall. And the Salamander there, 275 kills. Certainly good seeing him get in the action and do very well for himself, earn a nice little chevron. Now, as for Croissant Talbert's build, again, super solid here. Managed to protect those Ushopti Great Bows long enough that they did some pretty decent damage to both the Temple God and Mazdamundi. But the real play here and the real kind of power of his build was the combination of the Necrosphinx and etc. the Imperishable. They were so deadly together. It can be a little bit risky, obviously, bringing the two large entities like that. If Noob for Life had gone with, the Umbral Tide and some Salamander hunting packs, and I managed to evade the Ushopti Great Bows, they will wreck large constructs like this. However, it's a little bit of a mix and match sometimes with Total War Warhammer on what you bring. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, very evenly fought match and a super fun game. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please do consider giving a big old thumbs up and subscribing and all that good stuff, just to let me know that you want to see more of this content. Now, if you want to send in your own replays to me to be cast on the channel and also get involved in tournaments and so forth, I do have a link to my Discord just down below. And a big thank you as well, once again, to everyone who sends me in replays. Unfortunately, I can't get through them all, as I get sent quite a few nowadays, but keep sending them in, and eventually we'll get up on the channel. I just randomly pick them at this point and have fun with it. So anyway, guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.